We're witnessing a shift in how coaching is evolving in football, especially on the offensive side of the ball. The days of predictable stagnant playbooks seem to be fading, giving way to more dynamic and creative approaches that remind some of the old Schottenheimer style, but with a fresh modern twist. There's something electric about seeing a team that embraces motion misdirection and diverse formations early in the game. It feels like the offense is finally trying to become less rigid, less formulaic, and more unpredictable, which is exactly what fans crave. The hope, of course, is that this isn't just a fleeting experiment or a mid-season whim. We want to see it sustained throughout the season, especially when the pressure is at its peak during November and December. That's when teams really separate themselves from the pack, and the ones that can keep their offense versatile and creative have a real edge. I've been cautiously optimistic about this approach for a while now. I remember glimpses of this style under the previous coaching staff, but then it seemed to fade away as things shifted. It's one thing to have flashes of innovation, but another to fully commit to a system that leverages constant motion and creative play calling as a fundamental identity. Consistency is key because without it, opposing defenses start catching on quickly, and suddenly the offense falls back into old predictable patterns. So while the seeds of modern offensive philosophy are being planted, the question remains, will the team nurture them and let them grow into something formidable? Time will tell, but the potential is definitely there. Shifting gears to the players. There's a lot to unpack, especially when it comes to some key names who seem caught in a frustrating cycle. Take me Smith, for instance. The way the team has handled his physical conditioning, fluctuating between dropping weight and adding it back, raises serious questions. Physically, that kind of up and down can wreak havoc on a player's body and performance. Beyond that, it feels like there might be a mental side to it as well, where perhaps Smith isn't as dialed in or locked into the team's expectations as he needs to be. This combination of physical uncertainty and possible lack of focus makes his future with the team quite precarious. From a trade value standpoint, it's unlikely the Cowboys could get much in return right now. We're probably looking at a later round draft pick scenario at best, which frankly isn't much of a return for a player with his potential. This leads into the broader strategic debate about how teams manage their roster assets. Sometimes there's talk about trading away a strength to shore up a weakness, and while that sounds logical on paper, it rarely works out seamlessly in practice. The hypothetical trade of Micah Parsons for Quinnen Williams is a perfect example. Parsons is undeniably one of the best defensive players in the league, a true game changer who can impact plays from start to finish. Williams is talented, no doubt, but he doesn't operate at the same level. Letting go of a top-tier talent like Parsons to plug a hole might seem like a quick fix, but it could end up weakening the defense overall. It's not just about filling positions, it's about maintaining the core strengths that make the team competitive. The Cowboys would almost certainly be worse off trading Parsons away. When it comes down to it, sometimes it's smarter to double down on your stars rather than gamble by swapping them for less proven players. There's also an interesting dynamic at play with player rotations and injuries, which can complicate perceptions about who truly holds a starting spot. Take Tyler. Booker, there was a moment where it seemed like he lost his place to Robert Jones, but the reality was more nuanced. Jones showed some rookie struggles and then suffered a neck injury that sidelined him for weeks. That opened the door for Booker to step back in as a starter, but it wasn't a clear-cut battle lost or won. It was more like a temporary pause with Booker holding the fort while the team navigated a difficult stretch. These scenarios highlight how fluid roster roles can be during a season, influenced by injuries, coaching decisions, and player development. Contract strategy is another layer that deserves attention. The way the Cowboys have handled extensions for players like Jake Ferguson speaks volumes about their approach. Rather than waiting for a player's market value to spike and risk losing them or paying a premium, they're willing to get ahead of the curve by locking in deals earlier. This approach can prevent bidding wars and stabilize the salary cap picture, especially for players who sit in that borderline category. Good enough to be valuable, but not yet proven superstars commanding top dollar contracts. Getting a fair but reasonable contract done early benefits both sides. The player gains security and the team avoids inflated costs. It's a smart way to manage talent in a league where salaries continue to escalate. That said, the cornerback position remains a particularly tricky puzzle. Players in this role often need to be versatile, able to perform well both on the outside and in the nickel slot. Some might excel more in one spot than the other, but the truth is that flexibility is key in modern defenses. You can't pigeonhole a cornerback too rigidly, especially when injuries and matchups constantly force coaches to shuffle personnel. Paying top dollar for corners is a challenge because the market rewards elite talent, handsomely making it expensive to lock down multiple starters. The Cowboys have to strike a balance between securing reliable performers and staying financially smart, which isn't easy in such a premium position. Looking ahead, the possibility of adding veterans like Stephon Gilmore remains on the table. But the team appears cautious. They want to see how younger players develop and how injuries shake out before making big moves. Patience is a virtue here, as rushing to sign a veteran just to fill a gap might disrupt chemistry or block promising talent from getting a chance. The focus seems to be on evaluating the roster thoroughly before committing resources, which is a prudent approach, especially in a league where long-term planning can pay huge dividends. Then there's the question of how collegiate talent transitions to the professional stage. Jaden Blue is a great example, a fifth-round pick with potential, but expectations need to be realistic. Just because a player excelled in college doesn't guarantee he will immediately shine in the NFL, especially if he wasn't a leading star at his university. Tempering expectations and allowing players time to adjust is crucial. Not every draft pick becomes a superstar overnight, and sometimes their contributions come in smaller, consistent steps rather than big splash plays. Financially, the Cowboys seem to have the flexibility to manage their payroll despite recent contract extensions. Even after signing key players, there's still cap room to maneuver and invest where necessary. The structure of deals and the timing of contract raises play a big role in maintaining this balance. Franchise tags and other mechanisms can keep core players in place without dramatically altering the salary landscape, allowing the team to stay competitive on multiple fronts. When it comes to cornerbacks, debates continue about whether the Cowboys should pay players more as nickel corners or outside corners. The difference in salary can be significant, and players naturally want to be compensated at the highest level they can earn. Negotiations here can get complicated, especially when a team needs to keep everyone happy without breaking the bank. Flexibility and fair valuation are critical to avoid friction and keep the defense stable. Finally, with the draft approaching, there's always speculation about who the Cowboys will target to strengthen their roster. Cornerbacks often figure prominently in these conversations, but the team will likely wait to see how things unfold during training camp and preseason before making major decisions. Evaluating current players and how they fit the system takes precedence over chasing big names. The draft is as much about strategy and fit as it is about pure talent, and the Cowboys seem intent on getting this right. The intricacies of managing a football team go far beyond the game itself. Behind every snap, every play, there's a complex web of decisions being made that influence not just the outcome of a single game, but the trajectory of the entire franchise. When it comes to player development, roster construction, and contract negotiations, the Cowboys find themselves at a fascinating crossroads. The organization's recent moves reveal a team intent on balancing the pressure to win now with the necessity of planning for the future. A tightrope walk that few franchises manage perfectly. Take the case of Mazie Smith, a player whose journey has been marked by highs and lows, moments of promise shadowed by inconsistency. It's difficult to nail down exactly what's going wrong, but the pattern of fluctuating weight and uncertain conditioning suggests a player who is struggling to find his optimal form. The Cowboys' coaching and training staff are certainly trying different approaches, but the back and forth seems more harmful than helpful. In professional sports, consistency is king. A player who is unable to maintain a steady physical and mental routine risks falling behind peers who are progressing steadily. For Smith, it's a critical year. Another season underperforming could severely diminish his trade value, turning what once was a promising asset into a liability. The hope is that with a focused effort and perhaps some stability in coaching, Smith can break free from this cycle and show the kind of improvement that justifies a long-term commitment from the team. But there's also a philosophical question embedded here about how teams handle players who have not yet fulfilled their potential. Do you keep trying to develop them, hoping to unlock their talent, or do you cut your losses and trade them while they still hold some value? It's a delicate balance because the cost of patience is lost opportunities elsewhere on the roster. For the Cowboys, depth on the defensive line is already a concern, so sacrificing a player like Smith without a clear replacement lined up could backfire. Sometimes the best option is to hold tight cross fingers and hope for a breakout year. Near the Celtics, alternative, a trade for a disappointing player in return might simply swap one problem for another. The Micah Parsons debate encapsulates much of what makes roster management so compelling. Parsons isn't just good, he's transformative. Edge rushers of his caliber come around rarely, and losing one can create a ripple effect throughout the defense. The temptation to trade such a star player for help elsewhere is understandable, but it's often a short-sighted move. The Cowboys' Wazoo's defense relies heavily on Parsons' ability to disrupt offenses, and replacing that impact is no easy feat. Quinnen Williams is a solid player respected for his toughness and versatility, but comparing him directly to Parsons highlights the gulf between an elite game changer and a very good contributor. This disparity makes the idea of trading Parsons for Williams a questionable proposition, especially considering that the Cowboys would likely weaken their best defensive position in the process. It's also important to remember that the Jets, as potential trade partners, are not in a position to simply give away talent. With 2 first-round edge rushers already on their roster and pressing salary commitments, they will likely demand a steep price for Parsons. The economics of the NFL mean that teams often hold on to their star players, especially ones with unique skill sets that can define a defense. Paying Parsons despite his escalating salary might be the smarter financial decision in the long run, compared to giving up his impact and trying to plug holes elsewhere. The fluidity of roster roles also comes into focus when injuries strike, which inevitably happens in every NFL season. Tyler Booker's situation is a prime example. The temporary shift caused by Robert Jones's injury shows how quickly a player can lose and regain a starting spot, not necessarily due to performance but circumstance. These situations are reminders that depth is vital. Coaches need players who can step in without the defense losing effectiveness, and that requires investment not only in top-tier starters, but also in reliable backups. Booker's ability to hold the position during Jones's absence speaks to his readiness and the coaching staff's trust, which can be a confidence booster for the player and the team alike. Contracts and salary cap management remain one of the most fascinating and frustrating aspects for fans to follow. The Cowboys have shown a pattern of getting ahead on contract extensions for players who may not yet be stars, but have clear potential to grow into bigger roles. Jake Ferguson's deal is a case in point. By extending him before he reaches free agency, the team locks in his services at a reasonable price. This strategy has the added benefit of preventing bidding wars and giving the player stability, which can translate into better on-field performance. The market for these bubble players tends to fluctuate rapidly, so locking them down early is a way to maintain a competitive roster without overspending. However, this approach requires precise evaluation. Paying too early or too much to a player who doesn't develop as expected can backfire, creating dead money and cap headaches down the road. But if the team's scouting and coaching staffs have confidence in the player's trajectory, early extensions make a lot of sense. It's a chess game played over years, not just weeks or months. The cornerback position continues to generate debate, reflecting its importance and complexity in today's NFL. Defensive backs must often cover a wide variety of receivers and adapt to different schemes. Some are better suited to playing on the outside, matching up against top receivers one-on-one. Others excel in the nickel, where quickness and instincts are paramount. Ideally, a team wants players who can do both, providing flexibility to adjust coverage based on opponents. The Cowboys' cornerbacks have shown flashes at both spots, but injuries and contract negotiations complicate the picture. When a player like Trevon Diggs is coming off an injury and a less productive season, the question arises, how do you value him? Is he worth top dollar nickel money, or is his ceiling as an outside corner more lucrative? The market for cornerbacks has inflated dramatically. In recent years, making these decisions high stakes. Players naturally want to be compensated fairly for their role and ability, while teams must balance the cap impact of paying multiple corners top-tier salaries. Finding a middle ground that satisfies both sides is essential, but rarely easy. Veteran, free agents like Stephon Gilmore add another layer to the cornerback discussion. Bringing in an experienced player can help stabilize a young secondary and provide leadership, but the timing and contract terms have to align with the team's long-term plans. It's telling that the Cowboys are cautious about jumping on such signings immediately. They want to see how their younger players perform in training camp and preseason before committing resources to a veteran. This patient approach reduces risk and ensures that any addition complements rather than disrupts the existing roster. The transition from college star to NFL contributor is another area filled with nuance. Players like Jaden Blue illustrate how expectations must be carefully managed. As a fifth-round pick, Blue comes with potential but not the guarantee of immediate success. His college production, while respectable, doesn't necessarily translate to star-level performance in the pros. The NFL is a different beast, faster, more physical, and with fewer opportunities for mistakes. Giving players like Blue the time and support to develop at the professional level is critical. Fans often want instant results, but true growth takes patience. Financially, the Cowboys appear well positioned despite recent contract moves. Their ability to allocate salary cap space wisely means they can continue to pursue key players without sacrificing flexibility. Managing the timing of extensions and franchise tags carefully preserves resources and keeps the team competitive year after year. This fiscal discipline can be a significant advantage in a league where cap mismanagement has derailed many promising franchises. Debates over the proper valuation of cornerbacks often hinge on subtle differences between playing nickel and outside roles. The salary gap can be substantial, leading to contentious contract talks. Players want recognition and compensation that reflect their versatility and impact, while teams must avoid overpaying and risking cap penalties. Navigating this landscape requires savvy negotiation skills and a clear understanding of each player's role within the defense. With the NFL draft approaching, speculation about the Cowboys' priorities intensifies. Cornerback remains a position of interest, but the team's decisions will ultimately depend on evaluations made during training camp and preseason. Scouting combines college film with real-time observation of how players fit the team system. Drafting is as much about scheme fit and character as it is raw talent, and the Cowboys have shown a preference for selecting players who align with their culture and style of play. The possibility of picking up Maisie Smith's fifth-year option looms, but current trends suggest the team may hesitate unless he shows marked improvement this season. The decision to exercise that option will hinge on whether Smith can demonstrate consistency and impact, making this year critical for his future in Dallas. Finally, the question of whether the Cowboys can break through the so-called playoff curse that haunts them year after year adds a layer of tension to the entire discussion. Madden simulations and fan predictions alike point to first round exits, but the team and its supporters are hoping for a different narrative. Success in the postseason demands not just talent, but resilience, strategic brilliance, and a little bit of luck. If the Cowboys can sustain their offensive creativity, shore up their defense, and manage their roster with skill, they just might write a new chapter in their storied history. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Dallas Cowboys. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. Breaking news has just shaken the NFL landscape as rumors turn into reality. SAQUON Barkley, the dynamic and explosive running back, has reportedly signed with the Dallas Cowboys. This potential blockbuster move has sent shockwaves through the football community, sparking endless speculation about what this means for both Barkley's career and the Cowboys' future. For years, Barkley has been a key player with the New York Giants, dazzling fans with his speed, agility, and ability to break tackles. Yet persistent injuries and the Giants' struggles may have led to this surprising turn of events. Now, as whispers of his signing circulate, analysts and fans alike are buzzing about the impact Barkley could bring to Dallas. The Cowboys know for their storied franchise and deep playoff aspirations, could be looking to elevate their offense by adding one of the most electrifying running backs in recent memory.